I'm recording.
Oh, phew. I'm so glad. Da 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 da.
Oh wow, that's a whole other level for me.
Hey guys, welcome to Wingin It, the West Wing Podcast. My name's
Welcome.
Andrea. I'm here with Sallie.
I'm Sallie.
And we don't introduce ourselves.
I don't know if we've ever really done that before. That was a very official opening. Welcome to the West Wing Podcast. I'm Sallie.
It's a real
Welcome.
thing.
This is a big episode. It's a big fan favorite.
Oh my good golly gracious, it is. Let Bartlet be Bartlet.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Guys.
Big deal. Big deal.
It's a big one. It's a game changer. Speaking of a game changer, we're going to have a little game. It's not really a game.
No,
it's kind of a contest.
Yeah.
Same thing.
We are.
So we're so thankful everybody who has sent nice words to us via the Twitter, Instagram, email, and we've got a handful of reviews, but we're going to do a review contest on iTunes. So, are you ready for this, guys?
I'm ready.
So, what you're going to do, thanks for the involvement, what you're going to do is if you like this podcast and you want to leave us a nice review on iTunes, if you do so by Mother's Day of 2015, sorry, future people.
Yeah.
You can also leave us reviews, but you may not be entered to win some really cool West Wing swag,
Ooh.
guys. This is no joke.
Just a one piece of West Wing swag.
One piece of West Wing swag.
Yeah.
And so if you do that, if you can leave us a cool review on iTunes before Mother's Day of 2015, then you will be entered to win, and then we will pick someone.
Sounds so official. Enter to win.
It's true.
Yeah. We're going to include the people who have already left reviews because you guys are rock stars.
Yes.
And we want you to be included.
You didn't need prodding.
Except for my mother. So.
Shout out to Mom. So yeah, if you guys want to do it, we found some pretty cool West Wing swag, some West Wing memorabilia that we really like, and I'm probably going to order for ourselves. But we also want to order one for you. So if you leave one review by the Mother's Day, which is May 10th, you will be entered to win, and we will announce that once we'll just put everybody's.
And then you have to pay attention or find us on Twitter because some people's usernames are not their real names. So we'll have to be able to track you down. So leave a review, and then we'll just put everybody's names in a hat and pick somebody, and you'll get a cool piece of West Wing memorabilia.
And if you don't like it, if you don't like this podcast, too bad. If you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. Yeah. We're gentle souls over here. Just kidding. We don't care.
Yeah.
So should we jump in?
I think
Let
we
Bartlet
should
be Bartlet.
Yeah, I think we really should.
Oh gosh.
There's
just so much.
So what?
There's a lot to talk about.
Start with the TikTok.
TikTok. Here we go.
Yeah.
So what happens in this episode?
What does happen?
Bartlet's going to give a speech to some trout people, so we're kind of walking into that. He's going to go give a speech. And during this, CJ is asking around about a paper or a memo that's been floating around. And turns out that Mandy had written kind of an opposition paper when she was working for the Russell campaign about all of the ways that the Bartlet administration or the Bartlet campaign is vulnerable and the ways that they could be beaten in a re-election. I feel like I said that in a terrible way. Sorry. So there's that. Mandy wrote this memo, and now that she's a White House staffer, it's going to cause big problems.
Yeah.
So there's that. On the way to said speech to trout people, which I don't know what that's about. We never find out. We come to find out that 2 seats on the FEC, the Federal Election Commission, have opened up. And so Josh is very interested in doing that. There's a storyline about, who are they going to pick and how is it going to play. Those are the main things that happen. Toby and Sam, more so Sam than Toby, but Sam is meeting with some military leaders about gays in the military and a very important debate on that. And those are the main things that happen.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of things happen under that umbrella. Ella, So there's your TikTok.
Woohoo! Yeah, so there's a good bit of stuff going on. Did you have any, like, immediate, big, huge things you wanted to talk about? Anything that super stuck out?
Yes. Because I feel like, where we get the title from. So, as all of these things are playing out, we come to see that morale is pretty low, right? In the White House in general, the approval rating is very low. They dropped 5 points in a week because they did nothing. And they just feel like they're stuck in the mud. And they are. They're stuck in the mud. And so we finally get to the end of it. And Leo goes into the Oval and basically just lays into Bartlet. And it was so surprising to me, and obviously I've seen this episode before, but it looked like going into that scene, it feels like Leo, because in the memo it says that Leo is the one who's dragging Bartlet to center and not being aggressive as Bartlet would have been.
Right.
But he goes into the Oval, and it turns out that Leo just lays into the president and says that he's the one who's drawing him to the middle. And I thought, like, I love when there's a good reversal. It's just it's a good literary device. I love the surprise. I thought it was so good.
Yes.
And I feel like it's a good life lesson. So the strategy, like, to get out of this is, like, let Bartlet be Bartlet. Get him off the leash.
Yeah. Leo loves to write things down and show them to Bartlet. But it was interesting that it's not what you were expecting the first time you watch it. It's not what you're expecting for Leo to be like, you're the one holding me back. It sort of is interesting because it also feels like, okay, yeah, that's true, but, like, I think it's probably both you guys' fault. Like, because Leo's there to be his advisor, too, so why hasn't Leo, during these times, been like, hey, Jed, not Jed, but, hey, Mr. President, what do you really think about this? Like, he could also have been pushing him. It's everybody's fault. Everybody's stuck in the mud, I think.
It's that balance between, like, playing politics, like, the idealism versus what you can actually accomplish in real life.
Right. Which we actually got a tweet about that when we opened, we asked for sort of thoughts and feelings about this episode because we know it's a favorite. Somebody did say...
which you guys can always tweet at us. We're at Wingin It Pod on Twitter.
Follow us on Twitter and, like,
or Instagram.
I think we're going to try and do this more to get people's thoughts beforehand so we can sort of mention some that we like. But to that point, Andrea, Cameron said, I think that episode represents the dilemma of having idealistic characters you want to see accomplish their goals and at the same time represent the real world where often not a lot gets done. And I think that's really true because going from this episode, we could then see the next few episodes and have them just, like, win, like, get everything done, coming off of this huge high from Let Bartlet be Bartlet, but then that wouldn't be realistic. So it deals with having that as a balancing act in the show, as a show that represents politics, of we are pulling for all these people and we want good things to happen, but that's not what genuinely happens.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to jump to, like, the end of the episode.
Oh, no.
I felt so strongly about, like...
Yeah, I think we should just jump right into the big part. We don't want to talk around. I mean, that's the high point, the climax of the episode. So,
and I feel like it's a good life lesson.
Yeah,
honestly, like if you were feeling down and stuck in the mud and, like, you weren't doing it, I'd be like, hey, let Sally be Sally.
I agree.
Let podcast listener be podcast listener. Like,
exactly.
Just be you, 100% out loud.
Yeah,
sounds trite, but it's kind of true.
It is true. It's especially true for Bartlet in the presidency. In, like, Leo's like, this is the whole reason I picked you is because of who you are. And now you're not being you. You're not doing anything. So I like that. It's a good lesson. It's good.
Yeah, I agree. So good. So good that Sally's yawning. It's all right. So I liked the opening as well because anytime that there's Sam and Toby together,
oh my gosh,
I just like it. I automatically like it.
Sam in this part is my favorite because they're talking about it's not going to rain and the beginning of the speech that Bartlet's about to give says, like, as I look upon this magnificent vista, and Toby's really concerned that it's going to rain, and Sam's like, it's not going to rain, the Coast Guard says it's not going to rain, the Weather Channel says it's not going to rain, nobody says it's going to rain, and then, of course, it starts to pour.
If it rains, that means they're going to have to move it inside, and they have to remember to change the first line of the president's speech, which is why it's a big deal.
Doesn't. Which is so funny, because then Sam or somebody says, like, don't you think he'll know, like, you know, he's the president. He'll get up there and he'll be able to, do
it on the fly.
Yeah, to do it on the fly. And then, of course, he doesn't. Sam forgets to change the line. And the last thing we hear before the opening credits is, as I look out upon this magnificent vista, and it's just like, oh, not good.
Oh, I know. Sam's like, uh-oh, I forgot to do something.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. And Bartlet's in a pretty bad mood, like, from the get-go.
He is.
He's very grumpy as he's, like, walking to give this speech to people he doesn't even really know he's about to talk to. But then we find out that the 2 seats opened up on the FEC, and that suddenly is an improvement to his mood, because then he thinks, oh, we can, like, maybe we can get 2 of our guys on there. And they had a good explanation of what that process looks like when Josh was explaining it to Donna about how 2 seats come up every 2 years.
There, like literally the opening scene when it comes off the credits is she's like, "What's the FEC?" Or she says, "How does the FEC work?" And then he's like, "Well, blah 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 blah." Like it's just like very blatant exposition of like, "Hey, here's what's happening," which is fine. We need that sometimes.
I appreciated it.
Yeah, it's just funny. So yeah, that's interesting, the FEC thing. But I was going to say about Bartlet's mood is that it comes back when he's talking to Leo later, like we were talking about, that he says like, because Leo says he was in a great mood when he woke up, like he was really chipper this morning, and Bartlet's like, I'm really sick of like waking up energized and not going to bed feeling the same. Like he never feels good at night.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't feel like there's been a good day, you know? That's tough.
That's got to be so hard.
Yeah.
Ugh.
That's going on.
And then when Josh and Donna are talking about this and the process of it, she's like, so let me get this straight. Like the president has the opportunity to put 2 of our guys on there and to, you know, do some actual campaign finance reform. And she's telling to Josh, she's like, do it, baby. And then he keeps explaining, and then all of a sudden he stops. He said, did you just call me baby back there? And then he just keeps going on and explaining more. Like, it was just so...
Yeah.
It was interesting. But also Bartlet says to, like, just dangle their feet in whatever they're going to dangle their feet in, about basically float the idea that they're going to nominate the 2 people that Bartlet wants to nominate, even though they know that traditionally it's 1 Republican and 1 Democrat, and they already know who it's going to be and all of that. So
dangle our feet.
Yeah. But it's interesting because Josh goes in there like just following orders. You know, he serves at the pleasure of the president, and he kind of thinks it's a fool's errand. But then when he gets in there, he's talking to Republican congressional leaders, and they basically say, like, if you nominate the people that you say you want to nominate, there's going to be political retribution for that. Not only are we going to shoot them down, but we're going to bring up every like piece of legislature that's going to put you guys in a corner. Yeah. And it's not going to go well.
No.
I mean, this is the closest, I think this is one of the closest things we get to like House of Cards, other than the government shutdown, which is real life.
Yeah. So, which really during this meeting, Josh is just getting madder and madder about it.
And rightfully so. I would be mad.
Yeah. Well, because at first he's like, this is a fool's errand. And then he's like, no, I really want to do it. Speaking of being mad, Mandy has a whole storyline in this episode.
Oh, gosh.
Which we mentioned in the TikTok. Mandy wrote a takedown. A takedown memo for Bartlet while she was working with Russell. And it's just like everything that they're doing wrong, which it just... I mean, obviously it's significant because she now works for the White House. I guess, period. That's why it's significant, because anybody could write that and it wouldn't be news, but it's because she works for the president now.
Right. And because it's true.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's definitely true. Danny sort of throws that in CJ's face a little bit later, but it wouldn't matter as much if it were true. Like any blogger or reporter or anybody anywhere could write it, and it still be true, but it matters because she works for the president, and that doesn't look so good.
Yeah, and Danny was like, hey, you should have asked for that on her first day in office or just had her burn it or something,
Yeah, I think it's Josh that says, haven't you ever heard of a burn bag? Which I had not ever heard of, but I guess it's where you burn all the things you don't want. I guess in a career like that, when you're jumping from place to place, you don't want something you wrote about one candidate to come back up. But nowadays, that wouldn't.
And Toby does that too.
Yeah.
We see Toby later in the series actually burning drafts of things.
Yeah.
In his office, which makes me nervous. But fire makes me nervous.
Does he burn it in his trash can?
Yes.
That's a common Aaron Sorkin thing, I feel like. But anyway, I think it was in that Sorkinisms video. But it is interesting that that's a thing that they do. They just burn all their things. But, I was going to say is that it wouldn't really apply now, because if it had been published at any point, it wouldn't fly. Later in the series, it sort of happens to Donna that something she's written causes her, I don't know, she can't move forward in one direction because of something she's written in the past. And if it's already out there, if it's already been shown to people, it doesn't matter if you burn it or not. So
yeah, the internet, it changes things, guys.
Yep.
Be careful what you put out there.
Yep. So that's not good. Mandy's kind of in trouble. But it's a big storyline, but Mandy isn't really part of it. I mean, she has a few appearances, but it's not like all about Mandy. It's just about the memo and what it says. So that's interesting. So Sam's.
I really liked.
What? You go ahead.
Nope. No, you go. It's fine.
I was going to move on to Sam's meeting. So if you have other things to say about Mandy, which
no, who wants that?
Not me. That's for sure.
Nope.
As we all know.
Bye, Mandy.
Sam is meeting with military leaders. That's sort of all we get. We don't actually know like who they are. They're not highly ranked.
Right.
As the guy points out, because like if the president were taking it seriously, he wouldn't be meeting with like mid-level military people just to like gauge their temperature. They're not highly ranked, but they're highly sucky people.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I agree.
Yeah. But a great scene. It's really one of our first big scenes with Fitz Wallace.
True.
I mean, we have other scenes, but like a good scene where he just.
But definitely not our last.
I don't know, kick ass. And he comes in and sort of tells these military guys off. They're essentially the military guys, for background, the military guys, Sam is talking to them about having gays in the military and how don't ask, don't tell isn't working or shouldn't be there. And the military guys are saying that it should and that it's fine and that the president isn't going to repeal it. And Fitz Wallace just comes in and well, I wouldn't say he just tears them down. He does, but he does it in a very sort of unassuming kind of way, which is even better.
Oh, I love the way he does it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love how eating during meetings is totally a power play. It's like Brad Pitt in Ocean's 11. It just shows that you're the most confident, nonchalant thing.
Yeah.
It's kind of like straightening another guy's tie. It's a total power play. And Fitz Wallace just comes in.
Is that a power play?
Danish.
Straightening another guy's tie is a power play?
Yeah, it is.
That seems a little strange to me. But the eating thing I get. Like, he's very nonchalant about it. And meanwhile, they're like, Fitz Wallace is here. So I like that.
Yeah, because he's up there.
Yeah.
But it's true. But then later on, like, he does basically, it's a turning point in the conversation. But later on, one of the guys says, like you said, the president isn't going to do anything serious about this. Like, he's not serious about reforming or repealing this because if he wanted to, this is not the way he would have gone about it.
Right.
So that point is actually made. That's legitimate.
Yeah. And this is the same as Josh, is that Sam's taking the meeting and he's like, he cares about the meeting, but like, I think he cares about it more by the end than he did even at the beginning, because he's sort of just sitting here stewing, being like, this is stupid and I'm not doing anything about it. The same way that Josh's meeting sort of makes him angrier about the whole thing. Sam is doing kind of the same thing.
They're like going through the motions.
Yeah. They all, and CJ too, are throughout the episode are just getting more and more frustrated with like, because CJ has the big blow up moment with Danny, which we can talk about in a second, or we've sort of already talked about, but it's getting to all of them at this point that they're not doing anything.
Yeah, and Donna notices everybody's bad mood and says, like, why is everyone walking around like they know they've already lost?
Yeah.
She gets mad at Josh for, like, snipping at her or something. Josh is not in a good mood either. The only person she's not in a good mood, but she was funny, it was Margaret. There's a thing with Margaret and how the email is down, and she goes on and on about, like, why it's down, and it had to do with something about her friend sending an email about the calorie count of muffins, and that's, like, one of the few moments of comedic relief throughout the episode.
It is.
Where she's talking to Leo, and then she's talking to Toby, and she talks to Toby twice, which I think, well, because there's not a lot of comedic relief, I think we should just drop in that little...
yeah, when Toby's going to take the muffin to the lab, yeah, that's the best.
Yes.
We'll drop that in.
IT support is now accusing me of being a hacker. They're accusing me of spamming or smurfing. They asked me if I was running a Trojan horse. I said no. I was simply informing the others that the calorie count in the raisin muffin was wrong, and it is, Toby. You don't believe me. You should take one of those muffins and, take it down to the lab.
I'll do that.
Will you?
Get me a muffin. Careful not to handle it yourself. You want to use gloves. Slip it in a plastic bag. I'll send it off to the lab.
You're mocking me now, aren't you?
Yes.
So, yeah, I like that a lot. That's Toby's deadpan. But, yeah, Margaret is the only real, not the only real, but, like, she's a good source of comedic relief here. Especially with Toby, because her scene with Leo is really more, like, a bummer than it is comedic. Because Leo genuinely, like, Toby doesn't care, but then he sort of jokes with her, and, like, he's still talking to her. And Leo is really, like,
yeah, she's
really bummed that Leo doesn't want to hear her story, I guess I should say. It was kind of just like, poor Margaret.
I know, she can't catch a break.
Yeah.
Like, everyone's just being rude.
Yeah. She's the
like, I know it's the White House, but I know you have things to do. But can you just not, for like 30 seconds, pretend to be interested in someone else? Yeah. I don't know. Maybe not.
Toby does it better. So yeah, that's a funny little storyline. CJ and Danny have some tension in this episode.
Yes. Not in a good way.
Not in a good way. It's really the first time, there's been hints of, like, their relationship, causing trouble with her being the press secretary and him being the reporter. But I think this is one of the first times where we really see it be an actual, issue, I guess. Mm-hmm. 'Cause there are other times where it's like, oh, this is questionable. But this time it's like, Danny's got to do what he's got to do. And CJ, do you think Danny's in the right here? Of publishing?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I do too.
Absolutely. It's news. It's his job. Yeah. Like, there's no way that he's going to sit on that story.
Right. I totally agree.
It's crazy to think that he would.
And so this is the first time where it's really like, CJ, like, you can't, she is sort of taking it personally because she wishes that, like, because of how much he likes her, he would just not do this because it's going to make her have a bad day. But, like, he can't, this is one of those where he can't do, and he's done it a couple times on smaller things. He will, like, sweep them under the rug, or he gives her a heads up, or he does whatever. But on this one, I mean, he's got to do what he's got to do. It's news, and he's got the scoop on it, too. So, and he's right when they sort of go off on each other, which it's also kind of refreshing to see Danny fight back a little, because he's normally, I mean, he's confident. We were talking about that. Like, he goes toe-to-toe with CJ, but in this one, but usually he's very sweet. Usually he's just, like, doting, and he's like, when he tells Charlie that time, you want to be, like, the least stressful part of her day, he usually fits that bill. And in this one, he's sort of like, he pushes back a little. He's like, you can't be mad about me. You can't be mad at me about this. Like, you're mad because it's true. You're mad because you didn't burn it on her very first day or whatever. That's a cool scene.
Yeah. It's a great scene. And it plays into the fact that, like, throughout the episode, when Leo is made aware of the memo, he is really just, he's not engaging with it. And so when Toby brings it to his attention, you can already tell that Toby wants to engage, not with the way that the memo is going to play, but the actual content of it, which eventually Toby does come back, and Leo actually, like, questions his loyalty and says, you're going to let me know before you jump ship, right? So it's a very tense and frustrating episode until the end.
Interesting that Leo questions his loyalty. Just for, just for West Wingers who've seen the whole thing. It's an interesting question.
that would be a hurtful thing to hear somebody say. Because he cares so much, you know?
Right. And because he is very loyal. We'll get to that.
And there's...
Eventually, but it's a very hurtful thing to Toby that his loyalty is questioned, which speaks to Toby's character, which just, I'm not going to say any spoilers, but like people that know the whole arc of Toby, it's, I don't know. He's hurt when his loyalty is questioned. That. So,
yeah. So, but it's hard though, because Leo doesn't want to engage with the content of the memo. He doesn't want to engage with their weaknesses and the fact that a lot of it's true, you know, and there's nothing more frustrating than that when you're the one who cares and the other person doesn't care. And it's like, well, the person who doesn't care in any situation or who cares less is always the one who wins. It's like a terrible truth of life.
Yeah, it is very terrible.
It's a really depressing episode.
Two little things that are totally unrelated, but one cute moment when Josh comes back from the meeting and Donna's waiting for him and he's like, why are you just always waiting here? And she's like, I saw you coming and through the window. And he's like, you don't have a window. And she's like, in your office. And he's like, what are you doing in my office? And he's like, I'm looking for you out the window. That was cute. Imagining Donna just like looking out the window, like, when's Josh coming back? I like that little thing. And also CJ's office is kind of backwards. Is it not? Not backwards, her actual office, but like at one point she walks in through her secretary's, I can't remember her name. She walks in through her secretary's office and it's like totally
Carol.
Through Carol's office. And it's very turned around. So that was weird. Because like normally she walks through Carol's office. I don't know, I can't really explain it, but it was not the way that it's currently set up now.
I'm going to need a diagram. No, I didn't notice.
Normally she can walk through Carol's office and then turn left into her door. If that makes sense, into her office. There's a door from which that can happen. Is everyone just getting really confused right now?
Yep.
I'm going to draw us a diagram and hold it up so that all the listeners at home can see it.
Put it on Instagram.
Yeah. I don't know. Okay, well, then maybe I'm crazy, but if anybody else noticed that,
did you have another fun fact?
Do I have another fun fact?
Oh, if not, I'll share my fun fact.
Yeah. Sure.
Apparently,
I don't have any today.
Apparently, this episode was directed by Laura Innes, which if you guys are other NBC 90s fans, she played Dr. Carrie Weaver on ER. Did you know that? She directed this episode. And apparently, according to Wikipedia, which is the most reliable source on the internet, when Martin Sheen's wife found out that Laura Innes was going to be directing, she told... I almost said Bartlet. She told Martin that Laura was the best thing on ER, so he better behave.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love when my not real life friends, actors, get to direct. I'm proud of them. So anyway, fun fact.
I was not an ER fan, so I'll just let the listeners share in the fun there.
It was so good.
I wasn't not a fan. I just didn't watch. I wasn't like a hater. I just, So,
I don't think it's possible to be a hater of ER. It was too good.
So, I really just want to talk about the Leo conversation again, because I know that we started out with it because it's too big to ignore, but there's still so much detail, because first of all, leading up to the conversation, everyone is gathered in Leo's office for one reason or another, and everyone's frustrated. I mean, you can just tell. Leo can tell they're frustrated. They all know they're all frustrated. The approval rating's down. Everyone's just like, this is the worst. They've all come from these meetings where nothing is happening and where they just want to make a difference. And they're sort of like, Toby's talking to Leo right before about it. Then Leo goes in to the president. So we're already set up. We've got the team in the next room with their heads down. It's like an underdog sports drama. Like they're in the locker room just defeated. They're down at halftime. And this is the turnaround moment. And it was just so good. Like there's the part where he says, first, we have to acknowledge that I serve at the pleasure of the president part.
Which, would you be okay? I kind of want to just play the whole audio clip of the very end.
Of the
I just
team?
felt so fired up. Yes.
Let's go.
I just loved it.
And we're going to lose some of these battles. And we might even lose the White House. But we're not going to be threatened by issues. We're going to put them front and center. We're going to raise the level of public debate in this country. And let that be our legacy. That sound all right to you, Josh?
I serve at the pleasure of the President of the United States.
Yeah?
I serve at the pleasure of the President.
I serve at the pleasure of President Bartlet.
Toby?
I serve at the pleasure of the President.
Good. Let's get in the game.
Oh, I just want to, like, I want to serve at the pleasure of the president.
It's so good. Don't you just feel so patriotic? Like, it just, I can't even make words about it. But, it had the potential to be so cheesy, like having 4 people deliver the same line like that right after the other, but it wasn't. It was perfect. Mm-hmm. And especially because...
The only thing...
What?
Well, I thought the only thing that was a little cheesy, it was not that moment, because I loved it, was the moment where Leo's in the Oval with the president, and he's like, it's like a Karate Kid moment, is what I said. It said, say it to me, say it out loud. This is more important than re-election. I want to speak now. And Leo's like, say it again, and say it to me. And I'm like, okay, this is a little too... that was a little too much for me.
It was a smidge too much. I like the first part of it, this is more important than re-election. Like, it was good that should be his mantra. This is more important than re-election. Sure. But at the beginning, when he has the other sentence, he's like, this is more important than re-election. What does he say? I want to speak now, or something like that. It's just like, that's a little much, a little cheesy. But everything else about the scene is so perfect that let it slide.
Yeah, sure.
Which is interesting because, like, I didn't know... I mean, we're still wrestling with the idea of re-election, or maybe we're not wrestling with it yet. So it's interesting that the idea is he's been holding back because he wants approval ratings because he wants to get re-elected. Like, didn't really think that re-election was on his mind currently. So it's odd that would be his mantra. Mantra? Mm-hmm. Mantra. That was
mantra.
Weird. Yeah, it's definitely mantra. I don't know why I thought that for a second. I haven't slept much this weekend, so. Anyway, it's odd that the re-election is a big thing. But anyway, so the whole speech, though, is when he's like, he says, I can't remember what Bartlet said to lead up to Leo. Leo says the line about, if you had said that to me, I would say, I serve at the pleasure of the president. And that's where it comes from later. He said all those other people. And he uses Charlie as an example.
Yeah. Who apparently makes $600 a week.
Yeah. He gets $600 a week. He's getting death threats. And he still wanted to show up and stand up and be a man. And you were the one who told him not to go. I liked that. Because Charlie's just standing in the corner like, yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. Yeah, it's great. Bartlet's throwing the gloves off.
He's throwing the gloves off. Everyone's on board. It was a very, like, turnkey moment. Not turnkey, but it's a very pinpoint moment. Things have changed.
Pivotal.
Things are going forward with a different mood. Like, let's do it. It's just an exciting episode. You just are ready to, like, take on the world. And we're not even in the show, but... whatever.
Yeah, I feel fired up.
Yeah.
Who would you pick for your MVP then? Is it Bartlet? Is it Leo?
Maybe.
Is it
Leo?
Mrs. Landingham because she's giving him more roughage for his diet?
I think it might be Leo. Although, speaking of Mrs. Landingham in the diet, she says Charlie's telling her that, like, the president doesn't like his lunch because it's all salad.
Yeah, salad.
And he's like, and Miss Landingham says, tell the president he will eat his salad, and if he doesn't, he knows where to put it. And Charlie's like, okay, I don't think I will tell the president that.
She's feisty. I like it.
Yeah, she's so feisty. She's the best. So that was a funny moment. But yeah, so Charlie's sitting in the background. That was funny. MVP is what we're talking about. I think probably Leo. I think Leo rallies the troops and he rallies Bartlett, and I think he's I think he just does a great job. So I think it's gotta be Leo.
Leo, thanks for making Let Bartlett be Bartlett be our new strategy as we head into this new era.
It's exciting. It gives me chills. That whole scene just makes me like, it's very, very good.
So good. So we'll see how it plays out. The next episode is mandatory minimums.
All right.
Minimums of what? I don't know. We'll find out when we get there.
I do know. It's sentencing. Spoiler alert.
Oh. Cool. All right.
All right. Bye, guys.
See you next time.